Hello, I'm Sophie Wendell from Sheffield Digital, and today I'm talking to Iain McShane, who is a software tester at Skybet and also helps to run the Ministry of Testing meetup group in Sheffield. Hi, Iain.
Hi.
Today we're going to go through some questions to get a bit of background and a better understanding of what a software tester does and is as a person. So to start with, how would you describe the average day as a software tester?
So we don't really have an average day. I imagine, like yourself, every day is not the same. It varies wildly depending on whereabouts we are kind of in the project lifecycle. If we're at the start, if we're building and planning, I can be chatting to devs and product, and we can be looking at solutions, discussing ideas, kind of testing the idea of the solution and making sure it's fit for purpose. If we're in build mode, I'll be working alongside developers, again, sort of advising them on how other parts of the system interact with the thing that they're building. Things like doing code reviews, doing walkthroughs, and even things like maintaining coding standards and kind of sort of general approach and test approach, things like that. I could spend a lot of time doing things that people expect testers to do, so actual exploratory testing, sort of opening up the finished component, whatever it is, seeing how it works, seeing how it reacts with other parts of the system. I could also spend a lot of time learning about other connected systems that the thing we're building is going to sit either inside or alongside, and finding out kind of how they all work and how our new bit's going to interact with it. Obviously, things like reporting findings, raising bugs, again, things you'd expect software testers to be doing. And also, for sort of testers are generally ones with quite a broad view of the entire product, things like that. So I could spend a lot of time writing product documentation, or sort of doing things like product demos, either to the rest of the squad who maybe haven't seen one part of the product, or like doing demos to stakeholders and things like that to show them what we've built.
Okay, so it's absolutely not kind of this idea that people have of software testing, which is you come in at the end and from a developer's point of view, you ruin everything, you tear down their plans. It's not that at all. You're involved from start to finish. And
long gone are the days where the tester would get a spec and a finished product and say, make sure this does this. We're a lot more involved from the start. We're a lot more collaborative. It's a lot more creative than it used to be, and it's a much quicker process than waiting for the developers to build the thing and then go on, hey, make sure it does everything. It's a lot smaller. It's a lot more agile.
Mm-hmm.
A lot quicker, a lot cheaper.
I can imagine. Yeah. It sounds like there's, like you said, there's not a typical day, and it sounds like you do quite a range of tasks as well. It's not just technical things. You're kind of, like you said, more creative and helping out with planning. And I imagine then that kind of your viewpoints and your experience and understanding of things is quite highly regarded in that sense.
A lot of it is about kind of gathering knowledge, either about the thing that we're building or the thing that it's going to sit in, and making sure that everybody has the right knowledge to do their job. So you're, telling a developer the thing that they're building, what it's going to talk to, what responses they might get back, how their component needs to interact with anything else, kind of predicting the unexpected, I suppose.
Okay.
Things that other people haven't thought of.
Yeah. It sounds really varied, actually. So from that, because it does sound interesting, what was it about software testing that made you want to go into it? Did you choose, or did you just find yourself in it?
So, like seemingly most testers, I ended up here completely by accident. I always knew I wanted to get into tech. I was aiming for the standard journey of A-levels, university degree, and then going from there. So about halfway through my A-levels, my brain decided it had enough of school and just couldn't do anymore. So I bounced around, did a few kind of college courses, and eventually stumbled across an apprenticeship, where the idea would be we'd spend half the time in the dev team, half the time in the test team, And they split us into 2 groups and said, right, you go over there, you go over there, and we'll swap you over. I was put on the test team. They were very busy, and we just never swapped. But yeah, it turns out I quite enjoyed it. I'm quite good at it, and I'm still doing it 15 years later.
It's a pretty good way to find yourself in a job that you end up loving, I guess. And I think it's quite reassuring for people to know that you don't necessarily have to start out with this plan early to get into it. You know, you can kind of find your way in and find your feet once you're in that role.
Yeah, it does seem to be the thing that a lot of people stumble into. I think people appreciate that software gets tested, but they don't understand that software testing is like a viable standalone career. It's not a thing that people really aim to get into.
Yeah, and I guess maybe potentially it's one of those roles where the less like expert you are in technical stuff, actually maybe the better you are as a tester, because you don't think about it purely in terms of the back end or the how it's working underneath. You think about it as a normal person would approach this piece of software.
That can be an advantage, yeah. So ultimately you're trying to figure out what the user needs, what they want to do, and also what they might do. And working out, again, from a software point of view, what your application absolutely should do, but also what it absolutely shouldn't do. All of those kind of negative scenarios as well.
Okay, so this kind of fits in quite well with the next question, which was, how has your employer supported your career development and progression? It sounds like that was kind of there from the start.
I mean, it was an apprenticeship to start with, so obviously they expect some, they expect you to come in and learn and progress. But even now, it's really common in tech companies that they set some time aside. I think it was Google started the initiative, or certainly made the most noise about it. So we get 10% of our time as L&D time. Like one Friday every 2 weeks is set aside for you to go and research some new tools or some new tech, or either yourself or a team go and learn something or build something that will be beneficial to you or the company.
Okay.
And that sort of culture is kind of fostered throughout like normal working day as well. So it's not just, right, it's Friday, go and learn something new. At any point you can put forward a new tool or a new approach, or you have that freedom to try new stuff out. Things like, people say celebrate failure. I wouldn't say we celebrate failure, but certainly accept that not everything's going to go to plan, that everything's going to be a winner. And if you suggest a new idea and it doesn't get picked up and it doesn't fly, then we can look at that and decide, well, what was good, what was bad, what can we take and what can we leave, and still learn something from it.
Okay, yeah. So I guess the learning and development isn't confined to just those days. It's kind of a continual process where you learn something and then bring it into your everyday work and see what happens.
I mean, ultimately working in tech, it's a pretty fast moving playing field anyway, so there's always something new to look at and something new that may be either useful or might cause you problems that you need to know about.
Yeah. So when you're going through all of this, and kind of, I get the impression that you need to be very creative, very creative, and maybe a little brave in terms of bringing new ideas forward. So what would you say are the most important skills as a QA tester? Software tester, apologies.
So I think the biggest things, and kind of drawing on sort of the skills that we look for when we're hiring new testers, are sort of curious mindset. It's always, we talk about the tester mindset, and it's the thing that we look for sort of first and foremost and above everything all. Good communication. I mean, I've already talked about like the knowledge sharing. I'll often refer to a large part of my job as being a knowledge squirrel. So I'll be that person searching for useful information about the product, the platform, the language, the technology that we're using, and hiving that away into a wiki or into some sort of, something that's searchable or something I can find later or share with someone, to help them understand the thing that we're building or how to do their job. But yeah, certainly curiosity is, got to be number one skill for a tester. You have to have that drive to go and find out how something works, how it should work, how it shouldn't work, and then to be able to share that with the people that matter.
Okay, and I guess part of that as well is kind of being comfortable, maybe questioning things and questioning people's decisions. And like you said, that ties into good communication. You want to do that in a fair way, but also you do need to kind of put your ideas forward and suggest that maybe something should be done differently.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, it is your job to question everything. You may need to be careful how you phrase it, depending on who you're questioning and at what level. But yeah, you don't necessarily have to hold your hand up and say, I don't know this. You can phrase it in a way sort of, well, what if this were to happen? Or, for anyone in the room who doesn't know, how does such and such work?
Okay. And
being devil's advocate.
yeah, but a nice devil's advocate, the friendly devil's advocate. Where and in which ways do you think it's best to develop these skills, or maybe try them out and work on them if you're thinking about getting into software testing? How would you advise people kind of go about just bringing those core skills into their everyday work?
Yes, I mean, obviously it's unlikely you're going to get on the phone to Microsoft and say, can I speak to Bill? I'd like to be a software tester. So it depends like where you're coming from, what sort of opportunities you've got. But I mean, I've covered a lot. Important skills we look for curiosity and communication. If you think you can satisfy those skills, then there is every chance you could find either an apprenticeship or a junior position. If you can demonstrate that you can do those things and you can do them well, you've got every chance of being taken on. I've had a lot of success with people from science and maths backgrounds, because again, they've got that drive to, if you're coming from a science background, you spend all day setting up experiments and you want to know how things work. So you've already got that curious kind of mentality. But similarly as well, I've seen people from a customer service role transition over into testing, because they've got the skills that you can't teach. They've got the product knowledge, they've got the customer kind of care and awareness, and they want to see people being able to easily use the product. Mm-hmm. So if they make a noise about that, their manager has said, right, well, go and work with the tech team. We can teach you about databases, we can teach you about APIs, we can teach you about a bit of coding languages to get you through. But you've already got the communication and like the customer skills that we'd look for. Come over here, and instead of helping our customers use the product, go over there and help make the product better.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point to make, is those transferable skills that come from a lot of other jobs that are not seemingly connected to tech in any way. Those are the ones that almost are kind of harder to teach when you're in a tech role. Like you said, a lot of the more technical aspects you can give people L&D days, or you can send them on courses to learn those things. But if they're a good communicator already and think about things the right way and work well in a team, then there's no reason they can't get into something like software testing. So what would you say is the most challenging part of your role?
It's the people. I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's dealing with different people and making sure that everybody knows what they all need to know. I mean, pretty much every problem in tech is a problem with people and just getting people aligned. The computers just do exactly what you tell them to do. Mm-hmm. But it's working out what exactly you need to tell that computer to do, and making sure all of these people have the knowledge to make the right decisions and tell it to do the right thing. Okay.
Yeah, I can definitely see why that would be challenging. So getting an idea from one group of people to another and making sure it's understood.
I mean, as a tester, you sit right in the middle between sort of the technical, the developers who only speak in noughts and ones, product, and the customer and the user who just want to, in our case, place a bet at 2 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon when they're in normal times in a football stadium watching the match. They want to get to where they want to be really quickly. So we have to make sure that we're providing that service to the best of our abilities and also to the best of the customer expectation.
So would you say that's also maybe part of one of the more enjoyable aspects of your work? It's kind of seeing that.
That's definitely the most fun bit, yeah. I mean, I get to learn about new things on a daily basis, which is something I really enjoy doing. And I get to teach people new things quite often, which is again something I really enjoy doing.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And so to tie this up, let's do 2 of these. So where would you advise someone to start looking, or what routes to go down if they were thinking about a career as a software tester and they're coming from a non-technical background?
So again, kind of take a look. Maybe you've got a local digital organisation or a local meetup group that you can tag along to. I'll just get the t-shirt in shot a bit better there. But yeah, there is every possibility you can approach a company who are advertising for testers or advertising for tech roles and say, I'm interested in software testing. I don't have any technical skills yet, but I'm willing to learn, and I can satisfy your requirements for someone who's curious, a good communicator, I'm eager to learn, etc. There's every chance you can impress someone enough and they'll take you in and teach you all the tech bits. Okay.
I guess it would kind of be the same for someone who's more technically minded. But are there online resources, courses in things like software testing?
Certainly sort of more of the technical things. I mean, I'd look into learning about kind of project lifecycle in general. Things like the agile methodology is really popular at the moment. But yeah, you can specialize as a tester as well. So if you're coming from a technical and coding background, you could get into maybe automation or performance, which there's a lot of coding involved in. Security testing is massive news at the moment. It seems like there's news of hacks and breaches and things sort of almost weekly. So security testing is really big and again really interesting. You can put on your hacker hat and approach a product or service like a malicious actor would to try and figure out how best to defend against it. There's a lot of scope for places you can move around to once you've kind of started in, I guess, what people term manual testing.
Okay, cool, thank you. And do you want to give a plug to the Ministry of Testing group in Sheffield?
Obviously, yeah. So we operate under the banner of the Ministry of Testing. They're a global test community, and I run the Sheffield branch. So we meet once a month, talk about testing, I guess, tools, approaches, things like that. Yeah.
Awesome. They can find you on Twitter and I think meetup.com, right?
Yeah, meetup.com, and we are at Steelbugs on Twitter.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you very much. We'll sign off now. Say goodbye.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye.